The smoking gun. That's what Elizabeth Warren found buried in Kash Patel's phone records, direct evidence that the FBI director was taking personal orders from Donald Trump on active investigations. What started as routine oversight questioning about FBI independence became a devastating exposure of how federal law enforcement had become Trump's personal police force. When Warren methodically dismantled Patel's claims of institutional autonomy with documented proof of Trump's interference, America witnessed the exact moment constitutional law enforcement died on live television. But the text message Warren revealed showed something even more shocking about how far democracy had fallen. At exactly 2:47 p.m. in the Senate Banking Committee's ornate hearing room, Elizabeth Warren walked in carrying the controlled fury of someone who had spent her entire career fighting institutional corruption and knew exactly what she was looking at. The Massachusetts Democrat, former Harvard law professor and architect of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, had prepared for this moment with the methodical precision that made her Wall Street's most feared interrogator. Across the witness table sat Kash Patel, Trump's hand-picked FBI director whose entire tenure had been defined by unprecedented political loyalty over institutional independence. Patel's dark suit was perfectly pressed, his American flag pin positioned precisely, but behind his confident facade lurked the unmistakable tension of someone who knew his carefully constructed defenses were about to be systematically destroyed. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Warren had spent weeks analyzing FBI internal communications, personnel decisions, and most damaging of all, Patel's personal phone records obtained through congressional subpoena power. What she found there would shake the foundations of American law enforcement and reveal how completely the FBI had been transformed into Trump's personal enforcement arm. C-SPAN cameras captured every micro-expression as the hearing room filled with electric anticipation. Behind Patel sat FBI legal advisors, their thick briefing folders containing prepared responses for anticipated attacks. Behind Warren sat committee staff members who had spent sleepless nights analyzing phone logs, text chains, and classified documents that painted a picture of institutional capture so complete it defied imagination. Director Patel, Warren began, her voice carrying the measured tone of a prosecutor who already knew the verdict. I want to discuss your communications with former President Trump regarding active FBI investigations and personnel decisions since taking office. Patel shifted slightly, recognizing the opening move in what he knew would be a political chess match. Senator, I maintain appropriate communications with all relevant stakeholders to ensure the FBI fulfills its mission. But Warren wasn't interested in bureaucratic doublespeak. She opened a classified folder and removed a document that would change everything. This is your personal phone log from March 22, 2025. It shows 11 separate calls with Donald Trump in a single day. Can you explain why the FBI director needed 11 conversations with a private citizen about bureau business? The question landed like a physical blow. Patel's confident demeanor cracked as he realized Warren had his complete phone records. Those conversations covered a range of topics, Senator. What range of topics requires 11 calls between a former president and the current FBI director? Warren pressed, her voice gaining intensity. I don't recall the specific details of those conversations. Warren pulled out another document, her movements deliberate and threatening. Let me help refresh your memory. This is call number 7 from that day, lasting 14 minutes. Phone records show it occurred while FBI agents were executing a search warrant on Trump ally Steve Bannon's residence. Coincidence? The correlation was devastating. Warren was establishing a pattern of real-time coordination between Trump and his FBI director during active law enforcement operations. I'm not aware of the timing correlation you're suggesting, Patel deflected, but his voice lacked conviction. You're not aware that you spoke to Trump for 14 minutes while your agents were searching his political ally's home. Warren's incredulity was palpable. Either you're lying about your awareness, or you're admitting to gross incompetence in managing FBI operations. Each word was chosen to create an impossible choice: admit to corruption, or admit to incompetence. Warren had cornered Patel with his own phone records, but Warren was just getting started on her systematic destruction. Let's discuss March 28th. Your phone records show a 37-minute call with Trump at 6:43 a.m., followed immediately by you personally calling FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate. Can you explain this sequence? Patel's face had begun to lose color as the pattern of Trump's control became undeniable. I communicate with my deputy director regularly about bureau operations. At 7:20 a.m., immediately after a 37-minute call with Trump, what instructions did Trump give you that were so urgent they required immediate communication to your deputy? The question hung in the air like smoke. Warren had documented a clear chain of Trump's orders flowing directly through Patel to FBI operations. "I don't recall the specific nature of those communications," Patel repeated, his standard deflection becoming increasingly desperate. Warren then pulled out the document that would destroy any remaining credibility. "Perhaps this will refresh your memory. This is a text message from your personal phone to Paul Abate at 7:22 a.m., 2 minutes after your call. I quote, "POTUS wants immediate review of all DC field office operations targeting his associates. Priority 1, no exceptions." The chamber fell into shocked silence. Warren had just read evidence of Trump directly ordering FBI operations through his hand-picked director, POTUS, President of the United States, except Trump wasn't president anymore. "Do you recognize this text message, Director Patel? I would need to review the context of any alleged communications. The context is clear. Donald Trump gave you direct orders about FBI operations, and you immediately transmitted those orders to FBI leadership. This isn't oversight, it's control." Patel tried desperately to recover. "Senator, ensuring proper coordination on sensitive matters is part of responsible leadership. Coordination with whom? Trump isn't president anymore. He's a private citizen under multiple criminal investigations by your agency. Why is he giving you orders about FBI operations? The constitutional violation was now undeniable. A private citizen was directing federal law enforcement operations through his personal FBI director." Warren continued her methodical destruction. "April 3rd. Your records show a conference call lasting 52 minutes with Trump, Stephen Miller, and yourself. This call occurred during FBI budget negotiations with Congress. What did you discuss?" "I meet with various stakeholders on budget matters. Trump and Stephen Miller are stakeholders in FBI budget negotiations." "Since when do private citizens participate in federal law enforcement budgeting?" Each question exposed another layer of institutional corruption. Warren was documenting how completely the FBI had been captured by Trump's political network. Then Warren revealed the evidence that would define constitutional crisis in America. "This is an internal FBI memo from April 4th, the day after your three-way call with Trump and Miller. It redirects $47 million from counterterrorism operations to what's described as political intelligence gathering in Democratic-controlled cities. Can you explain this budget reallocation?" The number was staggering. $47 million had been redirected from fighting terrorism to conducting political surveillance. The FBI had become Trump's personal spy agency. That memo represents routine operational adjustments based on threat assessments, Patel claimed, but his voice was barely audible. "Threat assessments conducted by Trump and Stephen Miller in your 52-minute call. What threats did they identify in Democratic cities that required $47 million in surveillance funding?" Patel had no answer. The pattern was too clear, too documented, too obviously corrupt to deny with bureaucratic language. Warren then delivered the knockout blow. "This is your text message to an unlisted number on April 5th. I quote, "The boss wants full surveillance on Democratic mayors and governors. Elections approaching. Need comprehensive intelligence on all potential opposition activities." This goes to the top. The message was political surveillance ordered by the boss, clearly Trump, targeting Democratic officials for electoral purposes. The FBI had become the enforcement arm of Trump's political operation. Director Patel, who is the boss referenced in your text message. The cameras captured every moment of his internal struggle as he realized there was no way to explain away his own documented words. His hands gripped the witness table, sweat became visible on his forehead. The weight of his constitutional violations seemed to crush him entirely. Finally, Patel attempted the impossible. "Senator, I use various terms to reference administration leadership. Administration leadership. Trump isn't in the administration, he's a private citizen. Why are you calling a private citizen the boss while discussing FBI surveillance operations?" The question exposed everything. Patel had just confirmed that he considered Trump his boss, not the Constitution, not the American people, not even the current president. "Senator, I misspoke in that communication. You misspoke by calling Trump your boss while ordering surveillance on his political opponents." Warren's voice rose with genuine outrage. "This isn't a communication error, it's a constitutional violation." Warren continued her systematic documentation of corruption. May 12, your phone records show 14 calls with Trump during a single FBI raid on Hunter Biden's business associates. Were you providing Trump real-time updates on active FBI operations? I don't recall the specific timing of those communications. You don't recall 14 calls in 6 hours during a major FBI operation. Either you're lying about your memory, or you're admitting you don't track your communications with subjects of FBI investigations. The choice was impossible: admit to obstruction or admit to incompetence so severe it disqualified him from office. But Warren saved her most devastating evidence for last. This is a recording obtained through lawful surveillance of your May 15th call with Trump. I quote Trump's words: "Kash, I need you to understand something very clearly. I put you in that position to protect me and my people. If you can't do that job, I'll find someone who can." The threat was explicit and recorded. Trump had installed Patel specifically to use the FBI for personal protection and political revenge. Your response, Director Patel, and I quote, "Mr. President, you have my complete loyalty. The Bureau will do whatever you need." The admission was devastating. Patel had pledged personal loyalty to Trump over constitutional duty, captured on a recorded phone call and now played before Congress and the American people. Director Patel, do you understand that your oath of office is to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump? Of course, Senator. Then explain why you pledged your complete loyalty to him instead of to constitutional law enforcement. Patel had no answer because there was no constitutional answer. He had been caught red-handed pledging allegiance to a private citizen over his sworn duty. Warren concluded with a question that would haunt American democracy. Director Patel, based on this documented evidence of taking direct orders from Donald Trump, coordinating FBI operations with his political advisors, redirecting Bureau resources for political surveillance, and pledging personal loyalty over constitutional duty, how can the American people trust that the FBI serves justice rather than Donald Trump's personal interests? The silence that followed lasted 47 seconds. When Patel finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Senator, I serve the American people according to my best judgment. Your best judgment includes taking orders from a private citizen under FBI investigation. Your best judgment includes surveillance of Democratic officials for electoral purposes. Your best judgment includes pledging loyalty to Trump over the Constitution." Warren had systematically destroyed any pretense of FBI independence. Through documented phone records, text messages, budget reallocations, and recorded conversations, she had proven that America's premier law enforcement agency had become Donald Trump's personal police force. Social media exploded within minutes. Smoking gun trended worldwide as clips of Warren's evidence presentation went viral. Trump's FBI became a rallying cry demanding Patel's immediate resignation. Legal experts called the recorded conversation the most damaging evidence of federal law enforcement corruption in American history. Former FBI Director James Comey tweeted, "When an FBI director pledges loyalty to a private citizen over the Constitution, the rule of law is dead." The tweet was shared 1.2 million times within 4 hours. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin observed, "Warren didn't just expose corruption, she documented the complete capture of federal law enforcement by authoritarian forces." Constitutional law professors across America issued joint statements calling for Patel's immediate removal. Harvard Law's Lawrence Tribe declared it the clearest evidence of constitutional crisis since Watergate. Within 48 hours, 6 Democratic senators called for Patel's impeachment. House Democrats announced plans for comprehensive hearings on FBI politicization. Even some Republicans expressed private concerns about the recorded evidence of Trump's control. International allies questioned whether they could trust intelligence sharing with an FBI taking orders from a private citizen under criminal investigation. NATO intelligence officials privately expressed alarm about American law enforcement integrity. The Justice Department Inspector General announced an emergency investigation into Patel's communications and budget decisions. Career FBI agents began documenting what they described as complete institutional capture by external political forces. Elizabeth Warren had accomplished something unprecedented, forcing an FBI director to confront documented proof that he was taking orders from a private citizen while pledging loyalty to that person over his constitutional oath. The smoking gun wasn't just evidence, it was a recording of Patel promising complete loyalty to Trump while serving as America's top law enforcement official. The message was clear: when federal agencies serve individual loyalty over constitutional duty, democracy dies from within. Warren's evidence proved it was happening. The recorded conversation confirmed it, and the American people heard both unfiltered and undeniable